Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lumeplotters. We are today recording on video, and hence you might see some of the mentions that we have that we're referring to things we see on the screen. So if you don't mind, you can go to our YouTube channel and watch it there and see our faces and the screens we look at the same time. So without further ado, here is the entire episode, which if you listen to it just on audio, you are certainly totally fine. I just wanted to mention it if there is a couple of moments where you think like, I am not so entirely sure what they're talking about, maybe you have a look. Otherwise, enjoy the show. It's brilliant either way. Bye-bye.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lumeplotters Plus, the extra subscription version, the paid version.
It's just like OnlyFans, but for watches.
Now I'm in trouble.
Yes.
So, Julian, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much, Martin and Rolf. I think firstly, thank you so much for the invitation. Really a privilege for me to be with you today. My name is Julian Labuskachny. Normally people have quite a bit of difficulty with the surname, so Julian is fine. Been around the Middle East area for going on 9 or so years. Been interested in watches for a lot longer, quite a few decades, I would say. And I don't know what you guys want to know more about how I got started in the watch.
We'll get there. But I think we have to say the story of how we met in a parking lot.
I was actually driving, and Rolf was mentioning that on a previous episode, and I heard my name unexpectedly coming through my headphones. I almost drove off the road. I got such a fright.
It was very random, wasn't it? It was super rare because Ralph and I we just finished Dubai Watch Week that day. And we were walking out, and lo and behold, we see a lifted Porsche Cayenne with what was it? It was the Gulf livery,
Gulf racing colors,
the Gulf racing livery with, I think it was white wheels and like some big fog lights in the front. And obviously we were drawn to it, and Ralph being a Porsche guy himself, and me being a Porsche guy in spirit, just not in funds. I was looking at the car. We were literally all over it, and then Ralph said, "Okay, I got to go." And then Ralph walked away, and literally 2 seconds later, Julian shows up with like opening the Porsche. And that's how we got talking. And I had no idea he knew anything or was into watches, right? It was just in front of a mall parking lot. And I said, I like your car. So we started talking cars. And then we said, we're here for Watch Week. And Julian said, I'm also here for Watch Week. I just came from a DOXA event. And then I told him specifically, we got a podcast, et cetera, et cetera. And then he said, I follow you guys. And I couldn't believe it because, our audience is not the largest, we should say. And this was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, almost.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short. This
is a representation of your car, so more or less.
No. His is way cooler.
Way cooler.
This is a cheapy attempt at it. That Cayenne right there, that's more like it. Is that yours?
I think that is actually mine.
I think that is actually yours as well. The lights look very familiar.
All-terrain GXB. So is that?
That is it.
Yeah, that is you.
See, there you go. Yeah. Google knows everything.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So and then I had my dropped and modded ST over there as well, and Julian we were talking cars, and then long story short, a year and a half later, he's here on the podcast.
Which version is this? Which model year? Sorry, is this?
I think that was a 2009.
Yeah, I have the same. This is the S. No, it's. Is it the S?
No, it can't be.
GTS.
Yours is the GTS?
GTS.
I had the base version of that car, the 2009 Cayenne. Yeah.
Well, you still kind of have this car.
A Touareg version of it and a V8 now, but it was a, This is what I love about the Middle East, right? They just do these things that, at the time when Volkswagen did everything blue tech and saving the planet and all of this stuff. They said, nah, for the Middle East, we need a V8.
We need a bigger engine.
So it was special edition for the Middle East.
It's still not the W12.
No,
that was the big boy.
4.2, I think, FSI or something. So no turbocharged. It's just 360 horsepower, but it's okay. You can live with that.
I got that in my ST. Come on.
Yeah.
What you don't know is the reason why I parked in the parking spot where I did was as I was driving, looking for a parking spot, I saw your tricked out Honda, right?
No, it's a Ford Focus.
A Ford Focus, sorry. So Ford Focus. Yeah. I stand corrected. And I thought, no, this looks like a car guy's car. I'll just park it there because he'll appreciate this. And you did.
Oh. Yeah.
It's very funny. Yeah. But I have to say, I do the same exact thing. If I see something that, is a car guy's car, I generally will park near it because of the same reason, right? People will appreciate it. Unfortunately, some car guys' cars are under the radar too much, right? So you can't, but this is, and I think mine and yours are so over the top that, mine has the rally wheels and the mud flaps. Like you can't miss it, right? And I also have the yellow fog lights. So it's just very...
Yeah, so I guess you're taking it to the desert quite a lot, right?
Now this is the sad thing. May come as a nasty surprise. I've sold it. Sold it.
Okay.
My wife's sense of humor ran out, and I kind of had to make a plan. It was in the shop quite often, and it wasn't so much the cost of it because the cost was actually reasonable to maintain, but. Every time it broke down, the parts took so long to order.
Right.
The car was out of action for 3-4 weeks at a time, which meant we had one car. So my wife had to both do the kids' stuff and be my Uber driver. And that caused a sense of humor failure on an epic scale.
It caused friction, let's say it this way.
I was under the impression that she wouldn't want to ride around in a bright blue striped car.
That too.
Yeah.
For sure. Played a role.
My wife would kill me. She still doesn't ride in my car. She's ridden in my car once or maybe twice at most.
But yours is also manual, right? I mean, that's an additional...
Yeah, mine's also manual, so she hates that as well. She hates everything about it, frankly. And the suspension, the coilovers are so hard that any tiny bump on the road breaks your back.
Filling.
And the Recaros don't help, so...
Yeah. That's why, it's good if you have air suspension or adaptive suspension. You can just use what you want.
Except then you can't lift it. That's the problem.
Oh, I can lift mine too.
You can't modify the suspension unless you totally remove the air suspension, which is...
Yeah, of course. But I can lift my car so high. I mean, it's crazy if I wanted to.
Not high enough to put these wheels on it?
Oh, yeah. I could. But then
because it would automatically lower. So
it will lower on a highway speeds. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, which the problem is the clearance you need to run this type of tire and this size tire in there, it would scrape.
Well, then you need to have a car just to use for the desert, right? I guess.
Even with the lift that I had, you do still rub the tires a little bit, on its full turn. So it's it takes some getting used to. Not that easy to live with.
Fine. You cut the bumper. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I must say. I must say, in general, my advice is always we still have a Porsche in the family, so. If you buy a Porsche, get the insurance. You can now, in the Middle East, they have now, also in Dubai, UAE, we can now extend the warranty up to 15 years. It's so worth it. Because if something breaks, it's bloody expensive.
Yeah.
Not if, when something breaks.
Yeah, and the good thing is this insurance really covers nearly everything. It's amazing of what you can actually claim on the warranty, and that's really cool. But just factor that in the price of the car. That you have to also pay an extra for the.
No, I totally agree. I'm a strong advocate for insurance, and I've had for both of my cars. I've had warranty as long as they would keep it, right? And then after I think it was around 10 years, they said, "Nah, no, we're good.
My Volkswagen had 5 years extended warranty, and I when I got it, it still was on the warranty for 2 years, and it's unfortunately now. I couldn't extend it, of course. That's Volkswagen doesn't do that. Even though it's the same car.
I think Ford came with 5 as well, and then they sold me an extra 3. And then the Pajero also came with 5, and then they sold me an extra 3 or something like this. But then, of course, the thing was the Ford was already modified heavily, so it was questionable whether they would actually replace something because they would just blame it on the parts. So who knows? The guy at the place kept telling me, no, it's fine. We would have seen, but we never had any issues. That's the funny thing. Neither of my warranties actually paid for anything. Besides peace of mind.
So this because my car is old but comfortable, right? Air suspension and so on, and everything is lovely. My wife takes it for the drive to Abu Dhabi once or twice a week, right? So, and recently she took her own car because I needed my car to take some visitors around, right? So, she took her Porsche, right? It's a 2-seater, also GTS, and then she sent me a picture and said, "Is this possible that this is my average consumption?" And it was like 7.5 liters or something. And I said, "Yeah, why?" She said, I never get under 12 in your car.
Yeah.
A bit of a difference.
It's like double the weight. And of course, like 3 times
I wouldn't
worse
complain, Ralph. I'm lucky to get 10 in the Focus.
Really?
The roof rack doesn't help. And then for the Pajero, we're looking 15 to 17.
And how much horsepower does it have, the Pajero?
190.
Wow.
But it is riding on 32-inch wheels, 16-inch steel tires, which I have to take to a truck stop to balance because the regular balancer can't do the weight. So it's fun.
Well, I now have an unmodified Bronco, Ford Bronco.
Oh, I love the Broncos.
The new one.
Super happy. The new one, yeah.
Okay.
Super happy.
Which one? The Wild Track?
No, I have the bottom of the range. What's it called? The Big Bend.
The Big Bend, which is still technically not bottom of the range, I think, in the U.S., right? In the U.S., they still have...
So is it Big Bend?
Yeah.
Bend with a D?
Yeah, Big Bend is in Texas, actually. It's a nice little area where we used to go camping.
So you have the same engine than you two, 2.3 liter EcoBoost or something, or no?
Correct. I think it's a 4-cylinder turbocharged. I get about 9.5.
Oh, that's good.
That's what I get in the Focus.
Yeah. But I'm probably carrying a bit more weight than you.
I think so.
And you have the four-door version?
My next question is, what did you buy? But this is a good-looking car. My wife also wants one.
She is happier with this than the Cayenne.
Can you wrap it in Golf colors?
I'm thinking about it, but
no Golf. You have to think of something else, something that is like Ford. The Golf also, right? The GT40s used to come in the Golf livery.
That's just the Golf,
theoretically, it still works.
Very, very Golf.
Think of something else. Do Ferrari red and put some shields on the side.
I tell you, that business case will not fly easily at home. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
All right. Enough cars. After all, it is a watch podcast.
The Cayenne served its purpose. It got me on the Lumeplotters podcast. So I could sell it easily now.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think with this, unless it was some bright color,
wouldn't have had the same effect,
would
right?
we have stopped? Yeah. All right. So, Julian, we have 2 things up for you guys today. One, Julian's going to kind of give us his little collector story. He bought a new, very special watch he's going to talk about. And that's going to lead us into our next topic, which will be timeless elegance. Basically, watches that exude a timeless style that should never go out of style, right? So we'll talk about what that means and what each one of our perspective is on that. And we'll give some examples of timeless watches. But first, wristwatch check, I guess. Should Julian go last because he's going to talk about his, or how should we do it?
Yes. Let him go last.
Ralph, you want to close the Bronco window? Or are we going to look at the Bronco the whole time?
I will do this.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Ralph, you are in the middle. You go first.
Okay. In the middle on your screen, not on mine.
You're the meat in our sandwich.
I'm in the middle of mine.
Oops.
Okay. Is this new? Have you always had this?
No, that is new. I got this, changed a couple of things around with the G-Shocks and stuff, and I got this Seiko SPB 451. It's super cool, has a sunburst dial. It's really nice and rich blue, if you can see that maybe here. I don't know if it comes around. And it's, this whole, this way. Mid case is super slim. It really looks very nice on the wrist. Has, of course, I don't know if you can hear that.
I will beat this. I will one up this.
Yeah, okay. So anyhow, it's at 70 hours power reserve. It's a proper diver, 300 meters, and it's really nice. And even the date disc is in color of, you probably haven't even seen that it has a date because it's so tiny between 430.
First thing I saw, it's like a flaming sword that stands out.
It's in dial color, so it's really nice. Anyhow, so I had the previous versions of this. I had two of these different SPB 143, 146, 147. I don't know what it was, 149, and I always wanted this newer version because it wears so lovely, and it's a guilty pleasure, and it helped that. It was at a very good price. So
can't go wrong with a Seiko diver. No. The staple of any collection.
And I realized that I had no blue watches in my collection anymore because I had everything blue in the beginning of my watch collection. Every watch had a blue dial, and now I realized there's not enough blue in my collection, so that needed to be in.
I also was missing my Seiko, by the way. I had the 2 grand Seikos. Now I'm back to 2 grand Seikos. I bought back. I sold the Rado, which I didn't even put on my wrist, by the way. I looked at it and I said, nope, that's out. So that went immediately to the guy that bought my. I know. It went to the guy that bought my Seiko, the one with the linen dial. And I regretted selling that. So he said, okay, I want to sell this. And I said, I'll give you the Serato, plus I'll give you a G-Shock, plus I'll give you something else. And then I will, how much do you want? So we negotiated a nice price. I got that back. I also got back my SPB 411, the gray one, the navigator timer, which I was missing as well. But the one that I chose to bring today, where's the camera?
Ah.
Oh.
Yep.
Like
no dates, and little.
Sounds like the.
It's very clicky.
Yeah.
It is a very clicky bezel, and the whole dial. This is my Lumeplotters watch, right? Because it has no Lume plots. The entire dial is all Lume, and then on the NATO, beat to hell. The NATO's like shredding on the corner here, but.
On a Doxa, it's perfect.
It is. And I'm having a blast with it. And it looks great on the beads of rice. It looks great on the rubber strap. It looks great on NATOs. Frankly, I don't know. The only problem is I can't wear it on every color strap at the same time. So I have to choose.
Yeah, well, you can have 7 a day, right? And 7 weeks. So every day is something else.
7 a week.
Rubber on that. I think that'll also be a good look.
A what? Sorry?
White rubber.
I have not tried that.
The Tropic.
Because I've had issues with white rubber coloring, right? Because they go kind of yellowish, brownish after a while.
Well, I have to wear them a lot,
Yeah.
The transparent ones, they turn. The transparent stuff turns yellowish eventually.
No,
but the white one,
it's just. I had the white Apple Watch strap, the silicone Apple Watch strap, and then that one got super yellowish after use.
I mean, there's ways to clean it, I think, but I'm not 100% sure.
We tried everything: baking soda, freaking peroxide, whatever, rubbing alcohol, the works. There's no way of removing. Think about Tupperware containers, right? It's the same situation. You get some pasta sauce, tomato, whatever
in there ruins it forever.
Exactly. I had it this morning. Or for lunch, I had a katsu curry, and I was cleaning out the Tupperware, and it was orange, and it's never coming out. Anyway,
try the Opto watches. I think it's a local company.
Yes,
Opto
I know. We had him on the show.
Yeah. We had Mubarak on the show. He's the owner, founder. Yeah, he's a lovely guy, and the straps that they do are really fantastic. So we can only recommend it.
Small world.
We even had a special discount code for a long time with him. We have to see if we can redo that eventually for our listeners. Exactly. So can we all agree that actually Doxa is the universally loved watch company? I have never met somebody who said Doxa is bad.
I
only hear
heard
people
say things of why they wouldn't buy one, but they never said they didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's so quirky. It's just so off the beaten track. You can't help loving the ugly duckling. They're not pretty watches.
It is the ugly duckling. A friend of mine said it's so weird how tiny the dial is. So just to give you guys a sense of perspective, the dial on this is 27 millimeters. Mm-hmm. The watch is 42 wide. Right?
Yeah.
My Explorer 36, which measures in at 35, has a significantly larger dial aperture than this does.
Yeah.
No sense.
You wouldn't think.
What attracted me in the early years of Doxa is you had limited colors. You had I think it was 5 only. And when you went, you could only buy them on the website. No other way to get them. And it was a really crappy website. But it was likably crappy. You went into it as a very old school, kind of just about working. You committed your money and your credit card details, and then you just, hoped the watch will arrive. And it did, surprisingly. And that for me was the charm of Doxa. They've grown obviously since.
When was this?
This was around 2016, 2017 when I bought my first.
So that was the relaunch, right? That was when they relaunched.
The 50th anniversary edition.
Yeah, exactly. The 50th anniversaries. It was 3 colors: the Sea Rambler, which is the
silver.
Then there was the black one.
Shark Hunter is the black.
Shark Hunter, and then there's Professional Orange, right?
Orange, correct.
3 colors, all with the Aqualung logo on it.
Correct. Prior to that, they launched the 50th anniversary editions without the Aqualung, so they were just the plain ones.
Yeah.
And then very shortly after that, in 2017, they launched the Aqualung versions.
Wasn't it the other way around? The 50th anniversary had the Aqualung, and then afterwards they had no Aqualung?
They both 50th anniversary editions. The first ones had no Aqualung, and the second round had the Aqualungs. Yeah.
Which they have one right now on Timepiece 360.
Oh,
the carbon one, the carbon Aqualung.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Which
yeah.
Technically, it's not the 50th, but it's still an Aqualung, which is kind of cool.
I saw that. And you could also get the Diving Star and the Caribbean. I think they were the only other 2 colorways at that stage. Caribbean is the sort of dark blue, and
Diving Star is the bright yellow.
Yeah.
And then now they have a new color. Logo. They have a new color. They have, technically, since then they introduced White Pearl, which White Pearl has been used for a number of things, both for white dials as well as they have a white luminescent one that was only on the carbon edition.
That's right.
And now they have this Sea Emerald or Emerald Sea or something, which is the green.
Sea Emerald, yeah. They also have the Aquamarine, which is sort of the
and they have the
blue.
Aquamarine.
Yeah.
And this is why mine is so special, because it's none of these. It's the Great White.
I'm so happy for you. I was so worried about you, Martin, with your objection against date windows that you will never experience Doxa goodness. So
and that's exactly
I'm so happy you have the
I
opportunity.
Yeah. I was the same way, and they never made a watch without a date window. And I was always like, I really would like a Doxa, but I just don't like date windows. And then finally, here we go. I'm very
congratulations.
pleased.
Great
watch. Once again, I want it to be beat up. That's the only thing. It's too clean. It needs to, the bezel needs to be scratched.
Don't baby it. It doesn't like it.
No. Well, I sold my sub essentially to buy another sub, right? That's what I say.
But I mean, don't scratch it up if you're selling it in 2 weeks, right? So then it makes no sense.
If I'm selling it to anyone, it's to Julian. He already has dibs on it. So.
And I don't mind the scratches.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's fine. Here we go. All right, Julian, drum roll, time for you. What are you wearing? I don't know if you're wearing your special watch.
Yes, and yesterday I met Julian in person, and he wore long sleeves because he's, used to going to dangerous places and not reveal his watches. So over the entire time, I had no idea what he was wearing.
Well, let me show you. It's actually a bit of a grail watch for me. I don't really have many grail watches, but this is probably as close as it gets. So let me just find the camera here. That is what I'm wearing.
Patek Filippi Venezianico.
And
no?
I cannot compete with you guys on the clicky bezels, but I have the party trick of this watch, which is that has the they call it the officer's case back, so you can see the movement
super cool.
inside.
And I just want to, a note to AP, a watch that actually fits the case, or the movement that actually fits the case, right?
Absolutely.
AP always has these little baby movements.
But you know what? There's nothing nicer than having that is gold, white gold.
White gold, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I picked the white gold specifically because they're a little bit more under the radar, a little bit less flashy. For example, at the event we were at yesterday, Ralph, nobody really noticed it. And it's great.
I couldn't see it. With your, with your long sleeve, but
up your sleeve.
But I think it's what I like about it. Usually, when any watch is in precious metal, they have transparent case backs, right? To just save a bit of material, right? Because gold is expensive. But in this case, you have a transparent case back and a cover in white gold. So that shows really like we're doing it right? You have both.
Correct.
You have the material and
I got
you
a question.
Have the
so this is,
case back.
I don't know my Patek very well, right? So I don't know my references, but this is a current model or a previous one?
It's a current model, but this colorway has been discontinued. So this is the 5227 G001 Calatrava range. And you also get them with this sort of ivory dial in a rose gold and a yellow gold, which I believe are still in production, but for some reason they've discontinued the white gold. And then you also get the white gold in a black dial, which is very, very nice, but very formal. You know, when you wear that, it's kind of a tuxedo type of watch.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I believe you can only get the white gold in the black dial at the moment.
But see, I think this is the epitome of the boring, super elegant watch, right? I mean, you have no Lumeplots, right? Obviously, I'm not so sure if you can actually be on this podcast without Lumeplots, but I think we let this pass. We let this do. But the date window is nice to the side. The case is super elegant and smooth. It's just a like a perfect watch, like if you draw a watch as a kid, that's what you come up with. It's just so.
What, you're not drawing a doxa?
Depends. Yeah.
It depends if the child is a little bit out there.
Yeah. And now the most important question, of course, that we all
price on request.
Want to ask is, do you have hacking seconds?
It does not. It does not. So you're not getting that. You're getting the officer case back, but you're not getting the hacking movement. The other thing about the movement that's kind of surprised me, it's quite loud. So when I lift my arm close to my head, I can hear the rotor spinning. So it's not the quietest movement, which I don't mind.
What's the power reserve on this?
I don't know, Martin. I have not looked that up. But
Ralph will find it.
Ralph
will find it in 2 seconds.
Let me check. This caliber is the 26330. Patek Philippe 26330 SC. That's the one that you have. So you have 45 hours power reserve, 27 millimeter big. So that's a nice big movement. Of course, you have the golden rotor. And how Patek does it is they're saying this power reserve is between 35 and 45, which is
it's adequate.
Which is completely like what? Anyhow,
but they said that about the what's it called as well, right?
Yeah.
The
cubitus.
The cubitus.
Yeah, because it is the same movement that you have in their Nautiluses, like in the Tiffany. You see in the bottom here, this is the Tiffany Nautilus, and of course the cubitus. So you have the same movement as this amazing
You're in rarefied
watch.
air.
Well, I tell you one thing. I am super happy that it's not the cubitus because I don't have too many kind things to say. I've actually seen it on my wrist, and I don't like disparaging brands or watches or anything. Each to their own. But for me, it was extremely, extremely ugly. It was massive, and even the finishing. I was expecting it to be more refined, if I can put it that way. But not something I'm going to be spending money on anytime soon. 100% leave that for somebody else.
Yeah, I think when I went to the Patek Philippe boutique and I tried it on, it was okay. I think I had the two-tone version, right? And
I had the same.
Yeah. So it looked okay on my wrist. For whatever reason, my wrist is flat enough, so it didn't look too bad. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of it either. Yeah. I love the Calatravas. I love the 6000 series, right? The 6006, 6007, the quirky ones. So I'm a bit in the weird area. But the Cubitus in itself, I didn't dislike it. But I did think
finishing, Rolf?
It was okay. It's nothing special. Yeah, you don't think like, wow, you hold something in your hand. And what wondered me the most was basically the salesperson saying like, do you want to put your name down? And I said, well, I have no profile whatsoever with either Siddiqui really, I mean, a very tiny one, or with Patek Philippe at all. So I said, oh, don't worry.
Take your name anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
interesting.
So apparently that's not the hottest hot seller. So let's see.
So what made you choose this one over the traditional?
I think a smaller version will be the game changer, if that is small. The dial just looked too boring.
I kind of am over square watches at the moment. I sold the Santos. This reminds me too much of the Santos, and it ruined the Cubitus single-handedly ruined the Santos for me. Let's put it that way. I sold it. I think, I don't know. I just hate it. Long story short, I was going to ask Julian, why did you go for this one and not for the small seconds, the kind of the more traditional looking Calatrava?
I think two reasons. The one is I like the caseback, the opening caseback, the party trick. So it gives me something to play with since it doesn't have a rotating bezel. But the real reason is this was the first Patek that I actually picked up and handled, and I was so in love with it almost, from the start. But I'm talking now many years ago. I wasn't really that aware of where Patek was positioned in the watch world and so on. And I asked the sales lady, about the price. I thought I might buy it. And I can't remember the amount that she said because it was just too many numbers. I think my brain switched off. It was just money. And I couldn't, I hadn't at that time, hadn't heard of that much money associated with a watch in the same sentence. And I could see that must have shown on my face because she just sort of gently took the watch from my hand and put it back in the display case, with a smile on her face.
No, give it back immediately. You have no idea what you're doing.
But anyway, so it left a lasting impression, and I wasn't really able to afford one because I was collecting other things, mainly sports watches, dive watches. And when I eventually started with a big watch consolidation, I thought, what's the purpose of this consolidation other than reducing the size of my watch box? So after about 10 watches that I had to let go over a period of time, I thought, now I've got some capital and I can make this work. And I just happened to find one available. And I had a choice between the black and this one. No, this was at a local watch dealer. What's it called? Luxury Souk.
Oh, okay, Khaled. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Our friend Khaled.
I had this one, and it just happened to be the right one, the right spec that I wanted. And
nice.
Yeah.
Have you bought a watch from Khaled, Martin? Have you bought a watch?
No, I haven't.
No, I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Which one?
The Panerai.
I also got a Panerai from them, actually.
Yeah.
It's submersible, yeah.
I had the most bizarre visit when I went there. So I think whoever was the salesperson for me was completely not motivated to sell me anything, right? He thought maybe I'm just a tire kicker. I don't know. So anyhow, I went there and then I looked at a couple of watches, and every time I asked, so how much is this? He said, 25. I said, okay. And how much is this? 25. So the third watch I asked, that was 25,000. I said, like, this was the Panerai. And I said, dude, this can't be true. You can't have only watches worth 25,000. What's the real price? This is it was a Panerai 380 Black Seal.
You should have picked up a Patek. And then when he said 25, you said deal.
Yeah, but then he had to say $25,000, right? And probably they just changed the currency there. Anyhow, and I said, look, so what's here? What's the deal, right? I mean, at the time I said, look, I really want to buy it. And he said, okay, I'm doing it. Long story short, 12.
What?
So what? 25 down to 12? What a bargain!
No, it was
You're
actually
my friend.
even if that watch at that time was a really good deal for 12. And I said, okay. And he said, like, okay, no bargaining, 12. That's the price. And I said, oh, okay, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
And that was it. I mean, that was the quickest sell in history, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so the white gold version is not anymore on the website, of course, because it discontinued. But this is the rose gold version or the yellow gold version. I don't know. And this is how it looks like. But it does nice. Open a bit wider than this, right?
A little bit,
but not 90 degrees.
No, not 90 degrees.
But this is why you have here the super high polished interior.
Yeah.
And my Hunter Caseback watch, I have this decorated with these perlage. So, but then it opens fully, so 90 degrees.
Yes.
But this is now nice. You have a mirror.
It doesn't say anywhere on anything that I've read the angle is for the purpose of nicely reflecting the movement. But I do get the impression that was designed that way. But I've never read it. It's just
that
what
looks
it appears
really cool,
like.
You know, at this angle right there.
Yeah. It's nice.
Anyway, all right. Let's move on a little bit. Julian, you already kind of started talking about this. Since we have you, you're going to have to tell us, you know, how you got into this terrible hobby and why you're still in it and how you, I guess, haven't killed yourself yet because, you know, most of us on a daily basis, at least Ralph and I in the last couple of months have been on the verge of jumping because we've been continually upset with our collections. And my wife has been so pissed at me lately. But anyway, tell me, how have you... or tell the listeners, I guess, how have you kind of made it so far into this hobby?
I wish I could tell you a nice sort of linear story, but I've just always had a watch from when I can remember as a kid. Almost exclusively, I can't remember the branding, but I think almost exclusively they were Casios, you know, just these watches you can buy for next to nothing. And you treat it like a consumable. You know, it's not really something you keep. It breaks. You just leave it where it fell off your wrist. I aspired at that stage to one of these Casio calculator watches, but at that stage was a little bit beyond my means. So I had to go with the non-calculator versions, which was not as cool as the calculator ones that I saw at school. But I think the first watch things that I can remember wasn't actually a watch, it was a watch bracelet on my grandfather's watch, which I think was a rotary, if I remember correctly, but the strap was one of these elastic metal straps, if you know what I mean. They could expand metal.
Spiral elastic.
Something like that, yeah. And he had one of these, and I would sit on his lap, and he would always tell me stories, and I would play with this thing, expanding it and letting it go, expanding. So that's my first watch memory. What was really a bracelet thing. And the first watch that I can remember was, I'm giving away my age, was in probably the mid-70s, was my dad's watch, which was a very 70s watch. It was the Zodiac Astrographic SST in gold. I don't know if you know what that looks like.
I have no idea, Ralph. Do us the honors and show us what this thing looks like.
It has a mystery dial.
Okay,
so no hands.
Let me say again. What is it called?
It's called the Zodiac Astrographic SST in gold.
Astro.
You will see it's painfully 70s, painfully so. Which is why I don't own one at the moment, because much as it's very nostalgic for me, I don't think I could actually pull it off wearing it. It's sort of...
Show us, Ralph.
You're there. So sorry. I'm just. I thought I shared my screen. Sorry. I was just seeing it and I got a small shock.
I'm not surprised.
That's awesome. That is so cool. I love it. It
is painful. It's straight from the 70s.
Yeah. The one thing that Martin loves is the date at 12.
Oh yeah.
It's where it's supposed to be, right?
There's no date, right?
There you go.
Hey. Did not even see it. I look at 3. I look.
You think
at
it's a
6.
nice little dot or something? No.
Very weird. I like it. I do like it. The fact that it's like a circle cushion case is kind of.
It's crazy.
I do have a quick question. What is this red dot? This is the second hand?
The second hand. So it's actually discs, 3 rotating transparent discs inside. So it looks like that's floating in space, which was, the source of my fascination.
Yeah. I like it.
And so that was my first watch that I can clearly remember. What happened to it, I cannot tell you. That was my dad's daily wear. My dad restored cars, vintage cars. Mm-hmm. So he spray painted cars and worked on engines, all with that watch. So I can only imagine it showed a bit of wear and tear after a while, and probably was just discarded at some point. After those memories, my own watches, the first ones that I could remember, is I used them really as tools, not really as fashion items. So at that stage, I was doing a lot of ultra marathon running. So my daily wear was a Timex Ironman Indiglo with the 2 big stop and start buttons on the dial. You can still buy those. Well. You can still buy them. So I ran many marathons with those in the top row. Yeah, in the top row. That's it.
Which one?
I had a yellow one.
So this was a vintage here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's have a look here, because that's a vintage old version.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the business. So that I spent a lot of time with. And at the same time, I started scuba diving. So we already had dive computers, but I just thought that, for a diver, you have to have a dive watch. It's just appropriate, even though you're not really using it for timing your dive. So I had the Citizen ProMaster, one of the Citizen ProMasters with a built-in depth sensor and so on. So those are my 2 big watches, big first watches, So not very, very illustrious brands or anything, but I really used the living daylights out of them. And my first nice watch, I think we mentioned it last night, Ralph. Our first nice watch, what I bought, and here's the link back to the car discussion, was a Tag Heuer Monaco with the Gulf Racing stripes across the dial.
Yeah.
So I bought that complete impulse buy. Basically bought it for the little Gulf logo. And very quickly after that, found out that square watches don't really work for me. So I wore it, enjoyed it, but I quickly let it go after that. But after that watch, really the floodgates opened, and it was in very quick succession. Longines Legend Diver, IWC, Pilot Chrono actually. I had a Panerai Submersible, and eventually worked myself up. Oh, that's the one. There we go. That was more or less the
discontinued, and that was the last price. Yeah.
Wow, I certainly didn't pay that.
No,
for sure. But that square dial, lovely as it is, lovely as it looks in the movies on the wrist, just not for me. I'm with you on that.
Steve McQueen, right?
Yeah.
McQueen, yeah, classic.
So as I can only repeat this, that Carol Kasapi, the movement director for Tag Heuer now, said there will be a smaller version of that watch. But she also said, together with I think one of the designers, that she wants every person who considers a Tag Heuer to at least try the Monaco on their watch, on their hand. Because for me, for example, it was always like, oh, I just don't like this big square chunk thing, right? And it's too tall, and it's just no. On the wrist, it's not so bad. I'm still not a fan, obviously, but a lot of people like it the moment they put it on the wrist. But there will be a smaller version, a slimmer version, and a bit of smaller version eventually.
I think you can put it off, Ralph, because you've got a little bit more wrist real estate than I have. So I could see that working for you. But the modern tags that I like, I don't know if you guys have seen them, the glass box models.
Yeah.
Really nice
glass
looking
boxes
watches
have been really cool.
And
I used to have the old Carrera, the previous one, the small 3-hander that was like 39, 38 millimeters. And that one was super cool because it was small, but no chronograph on that one.
So, you know what I like? I don't know. This is, of course, there was just Louis Vuitton Moet and Hennessy Watch Week, right? For Louis Vuitton watches.
The new purple one.
Yeah, too. The new purple one is lovely. The new diamond ones. And the new purple ones are very, very, very popular with people, right?
Quite nice.
But what I really thought, I mean, this is not the latest one, but what I thought is absolutely amazing, and it's a Porsche, combination here. This one. So this is actually celebrating the 8.3 seconds that it took 0 to 100 for the first 911. Because cool. The second hand goes until here, 8.3, very fast, as you can see here, and then it gradually gets slower.
I see.
To go to 60 seconds on top. So if you measure time, you have the first 10 seconds going very fast, and then it goes slow. If you know the tachometer of modern cars as well, right? The first couple of kilometers are a bit more, more spaced out, and then it gets a bit smaller. And this chronograph does the same thing. As you can see here, the second hand goes slower and slower to reach 60 when it has a full round. But the first couple of seconds go super fast.
Now that's the kind of weird watch nerdery that I really enjoy. I really enjoy that.
And that is something which only when you have Porsche collaboration, and that really makes sense, because that is just that is super cool. And you now see when it starts again, how fast it goes in the beginning, and then just goes down.
Is this not, I'm going to go out on a limb here. So it's the first 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Is slow. So that means that you're just, you can with more precision time the first 10 seconds.
Correct.
It's essentially for a 0 to 60 pull.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. This is what the red part here is, the 8.3 seconds that it took the 911, the first 911, I think.
Yeah.
Or whatever
right.
it was.
Now we're kind of moving on here. Before we run out of time, obviously, I want Julian to tell us a few more. What are some notable watches that you've had or owned? One in specific I really liked. Tell the readers, the dear readers, what watches you have. What are some of your favorites that you've had or have currently in your collection?
Okay. I don't have a very big collection now, which I have a smaller watch box, but a happier watch box. I'm very happy with the ones in there. So I guess one of the obvious ones would be my Rolex GMT Master 2 Pepsi. Also comes from my misspent youth watching too much TV.
The new one or the old one?
Old one.
Okay.
Not the ceramic bezel, the aluminium bezel.
As it
version.
should be.
Yeah. Still lug holes and so on. And I saw that watching Magnum PI on TV. And that was the second watch he wore in the series. In particular, where he was harassed by a big shark when he was lost at sea. And they show the watch quite prominently. So again, left a lasting impression. That was the first Rolex that I ever bought. And still own it. That'll go to my oldest daughter one day. And then I obviously have the obligatory sub is in there, also with the aluminium bezel, 140-60M. That'll go to my younger daughter. Not really because they like the watches, because it's probably a better store of value than any other watch I have. But my most worn watch would be my Blancpain 50 Fathoms Hodinkee edition, the 40
Did you sell it? I thought you sold it.
I did not. Martin, I owe actually both of you a big thank you for that. Firstly, Martin, you declined to buy it. And
well, no. I literally was like, I have to have this watch. It was, I think, 38mm or something. It was a smaller size Blancpain. I had no date.
40.
And so smaller than the usual 45. So I was like, this is perfect, but I need to sell like a whole heap of stuff. And then I never did. And then the funny thing was, after like a year later, I sold all my stuff. Anyway, so.
But I'm eternally grateful, Martin, that you declined to take me up on that offer. And Ralph, you also linked to that story, because I was looking at a Zinn U50 at TP360.
Yeah.
And you said to me, that is a nice watch, and I must really look at the Opto watch straps, the red one with that watch. You said that makes a great combination. I never bought the watch, but I did look at the Opto watch straps. I got myself a few of them, a black one in particular, which I tried on the 50 Fathoms. And that made such a big difference to my wearing experience that I decided to keep that watch. And so both of you are involved in me still having the 50 Fathoms, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
I think it would have been a mistake to sell it.
I agree.
Frankly.
I agree.
These very special watches. I mean, sometimes we always preach this, right? Sometimes change the strap if you're not wearing the watch much. Sometimes you completely fall in love again with the watch, or even fall more in love because now suddenly it's comfortable or it just looks cooler. It's just such a good thing to do.
No, it was absolutely the right decision to keep it, and probably keep it for as long as the itch doesn't catch up with me again to liquidate some watches. My IWC that I have is one that's not a very popular one. It's the Mark 16 Pilot.
Right.
And it's the first one that came out with the dagger hands as opposed to just the stick hands, which are the more desirable ones. But I just like the look better. Just for me, a nicer looking watch. It's still 39 millimeters, so it's still a nice size. Yeah. I think those are the watches. The other watches, which is one of my favorite, which is also not that well known, is a Vulcane mono pusher chronograph with a salmon dial. I really bought it for the salmon dial. Not an expensive watch. I preferred it over the Cricket, which also was available in the salmon.
I like the Cricket.
The Cricket is nice, but the salmon wasn't as nice. You know, the salmon coloring on the dial. I just preferred the other one. So it's less classic as far as Vulcanes go. But I love
new
it.
Vulcane, once again, new ones or old ones?
New ones.
Okay.
I don't really have any vintage watches to speak of. I had one which I sold, was fine.
Well, technically your two Rolexes
the
are now
Rolexes
considered vintage.
Yeah.
Neo vintage at least.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I still think I if I'm gonna get a vintage watch, it's probably gonna be a Tudor sub of some description.
I've been saying this for ages. I would love a blue dial snowflake. I think that would be
that's the one.
On a grey NATO strap.
I can kick myself. I was toing and froing with Price with a seller of that watch, which is being sold locally in Dubai, and we just couldn't meet each other on the price. No, it was actually with Timepieces 360 as well.
But that one had a date window.
It had a date,
yeah. Which is the reason I passed on that one.
I remember we
would be perfect, but it had a date window. There was an other one listed without a date window in Dubai on Chrono. But it was a black dial, but no date. And I was like, it was like faded. It was almost like, a ghost bezel. It was super cool. And I think they were both around 25K ish, right around there, which was
that is a good price actually,
But that blue one, had no date window, it would have been 40K.
Correct.
That's how big of a difference that date window made.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's because the issued ones were no date ones, I believe.
Of course. So that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a problem with the date window. I'll settle for that with the Cyclops even, which I'm not.
To say 15K, that was 15K like 5 years ago. Now I don't even know how much they're going for. I think they went back. I usually do a little chrono search every year or so for these and see how cheap you can get one. And I just did it. And now it's down like 35K for a no date blue.
Yeah.
It's not bad. The blacks are a little cheaper. And then once again, if you go date, then it's a little bit cheaper as well. But
I'm kind of disappointed, Martin, that you do a search once a year. I do one once a week.
Only for this one.
Don't you have my saved searches that auto update?
Yeah, I have auto search, but my auto search is only for one word. Hodinky. I'm still looking for these limited editions, and I want one to come up for some ridiculous steal of a deal. So the last time the Longines GMT, the Zulu time titanium GMT came up, and somebody was selling for like 8,000 dirhams. Sure. And I was like, I'll take it. No negotiation. Like, give me. And the guy's like, sorry, it already sold. So you got to be quick with those.
Yeah. Sometimes you just miss out.
Yeah, but that's a cool thing about most of the vintage watches is that the fluctuation in price is relatively minimal, right? I mean, they have reached a price. I mean, sometimes they're getting a bit up because there are less and less of them available, right? I mean, there's definitely no new ones coming on the market. So, I mean, they also can go down. It depends if the hype dies down for certain things. But generally, they have a more stable. They're not as volatile as some of the new hype pieces, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This leads me into our actual topic, which we're nearly out of time, but we're going to go into the actual topic. And that's exactly what I want to talk about is when you're buying watches, there's a lot of these volatile pieces where you don't know if the style is going to stay. You don't know what the prices are going to do that down the line. You don't know if this is going to be something that's going to be sought after in the future, or is it going to quickly fizzle out? Basically, all of the Tudor chronos right now with the pink and the blue and the whatever, all of these are going to be literally worth nothing in 5-10 years. So the question is, and what is something that will be worth something? What is something that is truly timeless in both terms of style and elegance, but also in terms of value, right? So what is something that will always be in style? So I want everybody to kind of go through, and I can start really quickly. Obviously, Julian's watch that he just bought, like the Patek Calatrava, will always be a Patek Calatrava. It doesn't matter. The prices will kind of be at the same ballpark. Assuming you're talking about these basic Calatravas and not this, roulette one that Ralph likes. So basically, this is something that is always going to kind of be timeless. So this is my idea. Of course, we could go easy and little, quick, easy ones. The Rolexes, right? Obviously, a sub will always be a sub. A Datejust will always be a Datejust. But I guarantee you, I don't think a Sky Dweller and a 1908 are going to remain that popular, right? So I think those are going to once again fizzle out. Yachtmaster on the silicone strap, that's going to be crap. When the silicone straps goes away, it's going to perish at some point.
The Oyster Flex, yeah. So
the Oyster Flex.
I disagree, because I think that Rolex does design their watches so close to, let's say, the Sky Dweller and the Datejust are very similar. Yes, a tiny bit busier bezel dial because of the extra functions on it.
I don't think it's that. I think it's the size that's not going to be in style.
42 millimeter.
Yeah, it's massive.
Or is it 42 or 41? No, 42. It worked quite well on my wrist, so it's okay. But it depends.
You
need to have
the wrist. You're a giant, Ralph.
No, I'm not. 18 point something centimeters.
7 feet tall and you weigh 300 kilos.
True. Okay. I have 3 steaks for breakfast, but no, it's I think the design is more palatable. I think with them, and I think also the 1908. It's probably such a classic design. It's new for Rolex, but it is classic
design. Yeah,
right.
I mean, you look at other brands that have made things that are not in their wheelhouse. They generally don't age well, right? If we look at, for instance, Omega and the Speedmaster Mark II, right? Speedmaster Mark I, the original, fantastic. Everyone loves it. Mark II, everyone hates it. It's so rare that somebody likes it, right? The same with the Ploprof. The Ploprof is famous for its ugliness, right? Because Omega doesn't necessarily make these ugly things. So when they made that, everybody kind of took note that this is hideous. So they bought it because it was kind of cool. But, that's kind of a strange one, right? Yeah. But another one that I thought, and I bought recently, and then I sold, was the Timex Marlin. The little Timex Marlin, this 34 millimeter watch, it's a manual wind. I bought it for 300 dirhams. And that thing is always going to be in style, right? So that's something that's never going to go out of style.
Yeah. So
sorry, Mark. Rolf, go ahead.
Yeah, no. You go ahead. You're the guest. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think there's, for me, if I look at these timeless style things, I look at 3 dimensions, really. I look at the design of the watch. So, as you say, Martin, a classic 3-hander is never going to be out of style. It's never going to be an unfashionable thing. Similar with a dive watch, a black dial dive watch, always going to be in style. You're always going to be able to wear that. But the style is one thing. I think the next thing is probably the size. 2 smaller watches are ridiculous. 2 big watches are even more ridiculous. But that sweet spot anywhere between, I would say, 35 and 42.
Yeah.
That's just the size of a human wrist is not changing that dramatically. So that's what fits there. So unless we start wearing watches on our chests or on our heads, that's going to be the sweet spot for style that remains. And the third thing, I think you can apply that to brands. Certain brands are more in style than others. So you could think about Patek, Vacheron, etc., as opposed to Hublot, and a brand like Frank Mueller, for example, which are in and out of style almost on a whim, and you don't really know what causes that. So that would be the three dimensions that I would say define style. If you want a timeless, stylish watch, pick the right size, pick the right brand of watch, and then look at what you want to use the watch for, and pick the design that fits your lifestyle.
The right color. Once again, as you said, right? You can have a three-hander that's going to always be in style. Just don't get it in neon yellow.
Exactly.
Right. So that's another thing is be cognizant of colors that will not. We see this blue, this green trend. All of these kind of go away, which is kind of funny because I have a blue Grand Seiko, right? And it's a very strange blue, and I couldn't quite put my finger on where the hell did Seiko find this color. Turns out back in I think it was the 60s or 70s, they had a model called the School Time, which were little 34 millimeter Seikos that they would sell literally to school children. And they used the same blue on those as they did on my, what's it called? On my Grand Seiko, which I thought that was really quite funny that even back in the 60s or 70s, that was in style.
So one of the first watches that actually had or Swiss watches at least, that had a blue dial was the Monaco. At the time, it was completely quirky. It was sacrilege.
A wild thing to
do. Yes, blue in a watch. Are they crazy? I think blue has proven over time that it's now for the last 60 years that it doesn't go away. You can still have a blue dial and it's okay. But if you have a Bob SquarePants watch, like I saw the last one in the auction, that will not stand the test of time, I think.
Yeah.
What about a Kermit? Or a Miss Piggy?
Yeah, also these colors will be a bit tough. Also the Tiffany blue, or flamingo blue, as it's called with Tudor at the moment. Depends, right?
These colors, like this Tiffany blue thing, is gonna go out of style at some point, right?
Yes, but I don't think it will be completely terrible. I think people look at it and think, ugh, but it's just will fade away a bit. I mean, it's a trend. But by the way, I just today sold my ice blue Tissot PRX.
Oh.
It just got picked up 2 hours ago. So yeah, somebody else will be happily wearing this watch. Yeah. So I'm just putting money aside for something special. So there will be a big switcheroo coming. No.
Good luck with that, Rolf.
Let's see what happens.
Following that with great interest.
Yeah. So yes. I wanted to share something with you. Like this watch is a square Rolex, hand wound. It's the Cellini Prince, right? I mean, this is for people who are not
display case back.
With a deep display case back. Yes. I mean, that was a watch that was called the doctor's watch for whatever reason. I have no idea why that is a doctor's watch. Maybe because doctors
generally don't have very good style. So that's right.
Anyhow, so it has this internal fluted bezel here which is pretty spectacular, actually, if you think about it. And it had this hobnail dial, and it
looks like a Cartier.
Yeah,
it looks like a Cartier.
And it was discontinued only in 2015. So it's just 10 years ago. And I think it's for a lot of us. Just we can't even think about it because nobody have actually ever made this connection square watch with Rolex, right? I mean, it was probably a very bad seller. These watches are hovering around the $10,000 range. They're all precious metal. I think most of them are precious metal, and you can get sometimes really, really good deals. And these are very rare. I mean, if you go with some of these watches to a watch meetup, people will probably think that you have a fake from Thailand, because the thing like this, I can't believe Rolex ever did something like this.
They made a fake Cartier and put a Rolex brand logo on the dial.
I had once what is it? I think a Bangkok version of a watch that some friend brought to me, and it said on the watch Paneral, right? Sorry, that was the Panerai, and I had a Rolex, right, with a L. These are the really, really cheap ones in the beginning, right? That was crazy. Yeah. Anyhow, so that's
Rolf, showing me this watch now makes me wonder though, because there's no way that I will be spending money on anything like that or wearing it. Talking about the topic of timeless style.
Yeah.
Obviously an expensive watch, remarkable workmanship, etc.
Yeah,
which makes me think, is timeless style by definition boring style?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because all these way out things are not boring, but I wouldn't necessarily call them stylish.
Yeah, see, I think this is when we go with my example of why I actually brought this up was to say, we think, for example, that most of what Rolex does is usually very conservative and refined and classic and all of this stuff. But then you see this and you think, no, it's not, right? Then you see certain dials, certain celebration dials or emoji dials for day dates, and you think, sometimes they have fun. You see these Tiger Eye and all of these crazy Daytona versions where you think somebody vomited diamonds and colors over a watch, right? And you think, that is not classic, that is not conservative, that's just designers having a lot of fun. So even with Rolex, you sometimes have these crazy things that are usually off catalog.
Can I interject here with one more watch that did the same thing recently?
Yeah. Okay.
The Cubitus.
So talking about vomit, Cubitus.
Yeah, about non-timeless watches. The Cubitus, ladies and gentlemen.
But I think there is a difference between watches that you associate with your life, what the watch says about you whilst you're wearing it, and something different that you want to wear to a watch meetup where everybody's wearing stylish or this similar type of watches, classic watches.
But what about, like once again, we talk about Doxa, the ugly duckling, but technically that design has been around since the 60s.
Yeah.
It's ugly. The colors are ridiculous, but it's still somehow timeless. But it's only timeless for certain people because it's not for everyone, right?
So if you look at the old Vulcan cricket here, right? I have this here on the screen. I hope that picture gets a bit better. So this is a classic watch, classic dial. It's a bit busy, even for the time, I guess. And you have, of course, the alarm function with it, which is very precise. If you can see here on the outer railroad dial, where you can really set the alarm for, I think, like a 5-minute or even smaller increments, right? So basically, I want to say is, yes, it is boring. I think that Julian's watch, like the Patek Philippe that he's wearing today, is so classic, so basic, so restrained. It's just reduced to the maximum. There's nothing else that doesn't need to be there. There's like 2 words on this watch, right? If I'm not mistaken, where do I have still something open? No, I don't. But
if you count Genève.
3 if you count Genève. Okay, not even Swiss made. There's nothing there. It's just that's it. So I think that's so restrained and so classic.
Yeah.
You cannot have anything more timeless to a certain extent. But yes, you can also say it's just most boring. However, I think wait a second.
Date windows time watches as well, because remember, truly timeless would be without a date window.
But I think, for example, if you look at the design of the case, right, and the indentations and all of the stuff that you have on it, it's a very, very high and complicated and extremely sophisticated case making. So once you put this watch in your hand, which Julian said he did, right, and you think like, wow, this is just, you can feel the quality in it, right? You don't know how to explain it. It's tactile. It's the weight, it's just the appearance of the dial, the hands, and everything is just so well made. And this is now the opposite of, let's say, what we usually say about the Cubitus for Patek, but this is the Patek that we all love so much, right? When you think like, this is just amazing. That's why they are where they are, right? Because they make these kind of watches that just feel so good. And you put them on your wrist and you think like, yeah, it's supposed to be there. It just feels perfect.
There was a remarkable difference, Ralph, to give you a very practical example of this. My previous dress watch was a JLC Master Control Date. Similar style, 3-hander, absolute classic. And that was actually one of the watches that I had to let go to fund the Patek. But if you put the 2 next to each other, there is a remarkable difference. And I cannot tell you exactly what that is. It's just the feel of it. I don't know if it's the one that's made of gold and the other one of steel, but there was just something of substance to the Patek that the other one just doesn't have. If you look at maybe if you look at it in profile like that, you can see that the case is slightly less intricately designed. The edges are just a little bit sharper, perhaps. And so there was a major difference between the two, even though I still like and I still miss this JLC.
It's a beautiful watch, also very timeless. It's now with the upgraded movement. I really love it. I think it's a beautiful watch. Price is, of course, also went up a bit. It's now 35 for the date, basic. It's I know that they were at the 25-ish range, 23, 25-ish just a few years ago.
But they were more. They used to be more than the equivalent reverse.
Reverse, yeah.
Which now it's less than the equivalent reverse, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But I agree with you. These entry-level watches for some brands, of course, obviously it's like 1/3 of the price or 1/4 of the price of the Calatrava, but it is of course a different ball game there. You're talking about a simpler case. And in this case, I think you could also say that most of the brands do have a quite high profit margin in the entry-level watches, right? Because you think, well, there is not much happening in regards to the movement. Here you have at least a solid gold rotor, but other than that, then you go up into the ranges of complications and all of this stuff, which this line has, the Master Control line, right? And then you go completely amazing watches there that they have, and all of the memo boxes.
If you look at these JLCs, it's two of my guilty watch pleasures, I would say. If you look at the second hands, they are blued steel. Now, for me, that's like honey to a bee. I love a blued steel hand. I cannot get enough of them. I would put blued steel hands on everything. And the other thing, and this might be a big disappointment, but maybe this is my last comment on a Lumeplotters podcast. I'll see myself out after making the statement. Is Fotina. I love it. I love a Fotina watch. So that's it for me. I know you guys.
On that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time.
Sorry, I can't hear Julian anymore. I think the connection broke. I think he dropped off. His battery was empty.
Anyway, but seriously, we are out of time.
No, but one thing, I have to respond to the Fotina. I don't think that Fotina is bad.
I like leaving it at that, but sure, you can respond.
No, I think Fotina is something that is, as a design element, can absolutely nice to make certain things with less of a contrast, right? You don't have a sharp black and white contrast.
I agree.
So it can soften things a bit.
Take a look at the Black Bay 54 and take a look at the monochrome Black Bay. It's a totally different watch, right? Of course, there's the gilt element as well, right? The fact that it's got the gilt, because I think with white writing and Fotina, it would look a little weird, but with the gold and then the Fotina, it looks a little bit cool, nostalgically vintage, I guess.
My point is with today's production quality of material, it will never create a patina. Right? Because most of the watches now will look exactly the same in 30, 40, 50 years. So you can't wait for it for decades to look like this, or you can't buy an old one because this model doesn't exist in old. So that's the only way we get this kind of style with a modern watch. So, well.
If you look at the first Baltic aquascapes that were made, they offered them in both the white Lume as well as the aged Lume. And for me, that's
these micro brands can do this, right? But Tudor's not going to do this, right? They're not going to try both. No, well, who cares about the customer? Who cares what the customer wants, right? There was a famous quote that was attributed to Henry Ford, but it was not actually said. Apparently, it was debunked. But he was said to have said, "The customer can have the car in any color so long as it's black."
Correct.
Which
exactly.
Steve Jobs also was famously quoted for saying, "The customer is stupid. He doesn't know what he wants, and I'm the one that has to tell him what he wants." Which, in the same way, goes the same way, right?
Terry Stearns learned from their playbook, I see.
I think that was a bit of a.
All right, guys, I have to run. I have a class to teach in 5 minutes, and
thank you very much, everybody.
Peace
Thank
out.
you so much, guys, for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks
next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye-bye. See you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.